At 73, George Strait finally speaks up about Toby Keith. George Strait was born George Harvey Strait Sr. on May 18, 1952, in Poteet, Texas, and raised in nearby Pearsall. Strait grew up surrounded by the rugged beauty of the Texas countryside and the values of small-town life. These early experiences would shape both his character and his musical identity. Coming from a family that valued tradition and hard work, Strait developed a deep appreciation for classic country music legends like Hank Williams, Merle Haggard, and George Jones. These influences would later be evident in the straightforward honesty and emotional depth of his own music. After graduating high school, Strait briefly attended college before enlisting in the United States Army, where he served honorably and was stationed in Hawaii. During his time in the military, he discovered a passion for performing and joined an Army-sponsored band called Rambling Country. This experience not only helped him refine his stage presence, but also instilled in him the discipline and perseverance that would prove crucial in the competitive world of country music. Upon completing his service, Strait returned to Texas and resumed his education at Southwest Texas State University, now Texas State University, in San Marcos, where he earned a degree in agriculture, further demonstrating his deep connection to the land and rural life. In 1981, Strait's musical journey took a monumental leap when he released his debut single, Unwound, which quickly climbed the country charts and announced the arrival of a new traditionalist voice in a landscape increasingly leaning toward pop country. His first album, Straight Country, marked the beginning of a long and storied career defined by loyalty to the roots of the genre. Over the ensuing decades, Strait would go on to release more than 30 studio albums, each one imbued with his signature blend of twangy vocals, heartfelt lyrics, and simple yet emotionally resonant arrangements. Songs like Amarillo by Morning, The Chair, Oceanfront Property, Carrying Your Love With Me, and I Cross My Heart became not just hits, but enduring classics of American music. Strait's career achievements are nothing short of legendary. He holds the record for the most #1 singles by any artist in any genre, with 60 #1 hits on the Billboard country charts, a feat that underscores his unparalleled consistency and widespread appeal. He has sold more than 100 million records worldwide, earned multiple Grammy Awards, and was named CMA Entertainer of the Year multiple times. In 2006, he was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, cementing his status as a timeless icon. Despite his monumental success, Strait remained remarkably humble and grounded, famously avoiding the Hollywood-style lifestyle often associated with superstardom. He rarely gave interviews, stayed out of tabloid headlines, and instead let his music speak for itself, a rare and admirable quality in the modern entertainment world. In addition to his musical success, Strait has been recognized with countless awards and honors throughout his career. He is a multiple-time winner of the Country Music Association, CMA, and Academy of Country Music, ACM, awards, including prestigious titles like Entertainer of the Year and Male Vocalist of the Year. In 2006, he was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, a fitting tribute to a man who had already left an indelible mark on the genre. In 2013, he embarked on his farewell tour, The Cowboy Rides Away, which culminated in a record-breaking final concert in Arlington, Texas, attended by over 100,000 fans, solidifying his place as a towering figure in the pantheon of live performers. In 2014, Strait concluded his final national tour, the Cowboy Rides Away Tour, with a record-breaking farewell concert at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, where over 104,000 fans gathered to honor him, making it the largest indoor concert in North American history. Although it was framed as a retirement from full-time touring, Strait continues to perform select shows and maintains a presence in the country music world, particularly through residencies and special events in Las Vegas and Texas. His post-tour efforts also include charitable work and mentorship of young artists, as he continues to serve as a bridge between generations. George Strait's impact on country music is immeasurable. He not only preserved the genre's traditional roots, but also modernized them just enough to remain fresh, relevant, and widely beloved. Through it all, he remained true to himself, eschewing trends, sticking to a pure country sound, and never compromising his values or musical integrity. His influence can be heard in the work of countless contemporary country stars, from Garth Brooks and Alan Jackson to Chris Stapleton and Cody Johnson. In December 1971, George Strait took a bold and deeply personal step that would define the foundation of his lifelong love story. He eloped to Mexico with his high school sweetheart, Norma Voss. Their relationship had blossomed during their teenage years in Pearsall, Texas, and despite the challenges that often accompany young romance, George and Norma shared a rare, enduring bond. The couple's decision to marry privately across the border spoke to both their independent spirit and their desire to commit to one another on their own terms, without fanfare or interference. That quiet, sincere beginning set the tone for a marriage that would span more than 5 decades, a rarity in both country music and the entertainment world at large. Over the years, George Strait often credited Norma as the steady, grounding presence in his life, someone who stood by him through every triumph and every hardship, helping him navigate the pressures of fame with grace and humility. Their family life began soon after their marriage with the birth of their first child, a daughter named Jennifer Lynn Strait, on October 6, 1972. Jennifer was the pride and joy of the Strait household, a bright, spirited young girl who brought happiness and laughter into their lives. As George's career in country music began to gain momentum in the early 1980s, he still prioritized his role as a devoted father. He often spoke about how much he cherished being at home with Jennifer and Norma, finding balance between his rising fame and his responsibilities as a family man. Jennifer's presence during those foundational years added a sense of normalcy to their lives, even as George transitioned from a young singer to a major recording artist. Their family grew again nearly a decade later when George and Norma welcomed their second child, a son named George Harvey Strait, Jr., on May 14, 1981. Affectionately known as Bubba, he would become not only George's only son, but also a close friend and kindred spirit. Growing up in the Strait household, Bubba was raised with strong values: hard work, respect, humility, and a love for traditional Texas culture. While his father was a megastar in the country music scene, Bubba chose a path that aligned more with the rugged, authentic roots of Texas, the world of rodeo. He eventually attended Texas A&M University, a school rich in tradition and pride, and earned his degree while also immersing himself in competitive rodeo. Bubba became a team roper in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, PRCA, where he earned respect in his own right, not just as George Strait's son, but as a skilled and disciplined cowboy. Tragically, the Strait family's journey was forever altered on June 25, 1986, when 13-year-old Jennifer was killed in a car accident in San Marcos, Texas. The loss was devastating and deeply personal, shaking the entire family to its core. George, known for his typically reserved nature, withdrew further from the spotlight in the wake of the tragedy. He stopped giving interviews for many years, choosing instead to express his grief privately. In memory of their beloved daughter, George and Norma established the Jennifer Lynn Strait Foundation, a charitable organization devoted to helping children in need. Based in the San Antonio area, the foundation continues to donate to children's charities, including organizations focused on education, health, and the arts. It stands as a powerful and lasting tribute to Jennifer's life, a way for the Straits to transform their pain into purpose, giving back to the community and honoring the joy their daughter brought to the world. As the years went on, George took great pride in watching Bubba grow into a talented and well-rounded young man. In 2006, Strait experienced a proud and emotional moment when he was able to watch his son compete at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, an event that holds special meaning in Texas culture. Just before taking the stage himself to perform for a massive audience of fans, George sat quietly in the stands, beaming with pride as Bubba took his turn in the arena. That image of a country music legend watching his son uphold Texas traditions in the rodeo epitomized the deep family values that run through every aspect of George Strait's life. It was not just about fame, music, or accolades. For George, life was always about faith, family, and staying true to his roots. At the age of 73, George Strait, widely known as the King of Country, has spent decades letting his music speak louder than his words. Revered for his traditional sound and dignified public image, Strait has rarely been one to engage in public commentary or industry drama. However, in a rare and heartfelt moment, he recently opened up about fellow country music icon Toby Keith, a man whose legacy, like Strait's, left a lasting mark on the genre. Strait, known for his reserved and humble demeanor, spoke with unusual candor, offering his thoughts not just on Keith's music, but on the man himself. George Strait recalled the early days when Toby Keith burst onto the country music scene in the 1990s with bold energy, unapologetic lyrics, and a powerful baritone that stood out among Nashville's rising stars. Strait acknowledged that while their musical styles were quite different, Keith often leaned toward rock-infused country anthems, while Strait remained loyal to a more neo-traditional sound. The two shared a deep respect for the roots of country music and its storytelling tradition. Strait praised Keith's songwriting, highlighting his knack for capturing patriotic themes, working-class struggles, and emotional honesty in a way that resonated with millions. He mentioned how songs like Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue and American Soldier sparked national conversations, adding that Keith's boldness gave voice to sentiments many Americans felt deeply. But Strait's words went far beyond professional praise. He spoke warmly about Keith as a person, gracious, funny, and incredibly resilient. Strait reflected on their personal encounters backstage at award shows and charity events, where Keith was always generous with his time and supportive of fellow artists. He especially admired Keith's work ethic and his unwavering devotion to his fans, even in the face of personal health struggles in his later years. Strait described how Keith's tenacity during his battle with stomach cancer had inspired not only fans but also peers within the country music world. Toby's grit was something else, Strait said. He didn't want pity. He wanted to keep doing what he loved, writing songs, getting on stage, and making people feel something. That takes a rare kind of heart. Strait also acknowledged the impact Toby Keith had on the evolution of country music. While the two represented different eras and approaches, Strait believed Keith's contributions were vital to keeping the genre dynamic and relevant. Toby brought in a whole new wave of listeners. He shook things up, and that's important, Strait remarked. Country music's got room for all of us. Cowboys, rebels, poets, and patriots. Reflecting on Toby Keith's legacy, Strait acknowledged the powerful mark Keith left on country music through his bold persona, gritty songwriting, and unapologetic patriotism. Toby was one of a kind, Strait said. He had that fire, that edge. He brought something different to the table, and you felt it every time he walked on stage or sang one of his songs. This rare public acknowledgement from someone as famously reserved as George Strait carried significant weight, especially considering Keith's recent health struggles and the outpouring of tributes following his death. Strait went on to recall moments the two artists had crossed paths over the years, at award shows, charity events, and behind the scenes of the industry they both helped shape. While they may not have shared the stage often, Strait emphasized a deep professional respect for Keith's approach to music and life. We didn't run in the same circles all the time, Strait admitted. But I always admired how Toby did things on his own terms. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, and that takes guts in this business. What struck many fans the most was the emotion in Strait's voice as he spoke. He seemed not only to be honoring a peer, but also reflecting on the passage of time and the fragility of life, something that becomes more poignant with age. You get to a point, Strait said quietly, where you start looking back a lot more than you look ahead. And when you look back, you realize how important it is to say what's on your heart while you still can. As George Strait opened up, there was a clear sense of admiration in his voice, an acknowledgement from one legend to another. At 73, with more than 60 #1 hits and a legacy secured in the annals of American music history, Strait's words carried the weight of experience and sincerity. In speaking up about Toby Keith, he didn't just pay tribute to a fellow artist, he honored a brother in song, a fellow Texan, and a man who, like himself, had never backed down from being exactly who he was. In the end, Strait's tribute was more than a reflection. It was a moment of unity, of one icon tipping his hat to another and reminding us all that country music is more than just fame or chart-topping hits. It's about integrity, heart, and the stories we leave behind. And in that sense, both George Strait and Toby Keith will forever ride high in the saddle of American music lore.